Warning, this show contains adult language, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. Today's episode 175, Q&A, recession help. I think I want to add on there the Great Reset help. And a lot of people are concerned, and you're sending me some questions, so I want to make you guys happy, and I'm here to answer and be of any service or help I can today on the subject matter. So let's just dive right in. Somebody here has looked for work, and there's just too many applications that are happening. For every one that they put in, there's 100 other applications, and they're worried about how they're going to get a job, right? And when I look at this, I think that I've said this over and over again. I think that you haven't made yourself very useful. If your application is looking the same as everybody else's, my advice to you is that you need to change that. Looks like we're a little too late right now in the game, so that's when you need to listen to the past podcast. You need to go below the wire. You need to regroup yourself. You need to reconfigure your mindset, everything, your life, and make yourself useful. Let's just think about that for a minute, though. You're putting in applications, and for every application, there's just hundreds of them, and you really don't have the self-confidence that yours is going to stand out or that you have something of value to give, to offer to the company. You feel, if you're coming at it at this question of like, what should I do? There's hundreds. You need to come up for yourself and start thinking, how can I stand out? And that's the biggest thing. I don't think in just sales. See, I own my own business. I do my own sales, but it's going to be the same for somebody who's an employee looking for work, because we're all looking to get something from somebody, right? But in order to get something from somebody, you're selling yourself, basically. Believe it or not, you are a salesperson when you are an employee at this point. And so if you've got 100, I don't care if you have 1,000 people, we're going to get into some tips and tricks here a little bit later on. I think that's going to dazzle you guys. But if you don't have something to sell an owner, a boss, or for me on a job, then you're not really going to do too good, and you're not going to do good forever, right? You need to start changing this mindset. That's the big problem with this reset and this whole recession and life in general. Is I see a lot of people aren't prepared for many things, and I think it's due to the fact that people assume that everything's going to stay the same, everything will repair itself, the government's going to give some money to people, some grants like they are here in United States, stimulus checks, and something will happen, It's almost the mentality of a child being raised by a parent, and even though they're full-grown adults, thinking that there's always somebody else that's going to handle something. And I think this is a positive. I'm not trying to beat anybody up, but also the bad shit that happens in life. I think a lot of people easily can blame certain entities, whether they're ethereal entities or, the gods or the government or my mom and dad. Things mess me up. That's why psychologically can't do this. It's the gas station of why we can't do shit, right? We're just filling up our tanks and hanging them around our necks, overweighting our bodies with a bunch of sensational thoughts, and grouping up with others who actually get off on this for why we shouldn't do anything and why everything sucks. Well, it's a positive, because if you change that mindset and you start looking at how you can better yourself and start improving your life and start giving more, I think that's probably the key too I want to get out of my mouth, is that you need to offer more, be more of value to somebody than they're going to get that you're going to get from them, right? Whenever you keep that mentality up, whenever you stay up above the game, you're always way more valuable. This is common sense, I think, that of course you're not expendable, right? They're not going to, because they know that your value is so high. If you're profitable, right? And we're talking about money right now mostly, but I think in spirituality, in health and happiness and life, if you're able to bring profit, if you're profitable for somebody, you're going to be kept around. A chicken that lays a lot of eggs, you're going to keep that chicken. If there's a chicken that it starts pecking eggs and breaking them and stuff, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go in the stew pot, right? So it's common sense across the board. We just need to get this mindset straight and start moving forward. Don't look backwards. We learned our lessons. I've learned tons of lessons for myself of what not to do, and I wouldn't have known unless I tried. I talk a lot about not giving a shit what anybody thinks about you, and that's how I've learned things. A lot of the things that I've come up with especially the message of this podcast is called The Alternative Lifestyle Design. There's no manuals for me to look at. There's a few examples and things, but I kind of had to configure things myself. And by trying certain things, I screwed up. I fucked up. Or just nothing happened. I don't really consider it as a fuck up. I consider that I tried something, saw that it didn't work, tried to tweak it to work, and add things in, keep experimenting until I made it happen, until I found the right antidote, the right components that need to go together to actually build a successful physical good or machine, whatever you want to call it. So I would say to yourself, is you need to design yourself as a warrior of business, of value. And there's not a lot of us out there. That's the beauty part. As I say on this podcast, I don't ever think this show is ever going to go anywhere far, because there's far too many people looking at puppy dog farts, breasts and fucking, skinny waists and asses being shaken everywhere, and following the people throwing the $1 million, the $100 bills around. They're after that rich life, that big time kahuna thing, and they want everybody to look at them. And they're so preoccupied with that and most of them, the majority of them, are never going to get there. They're just fooled by the bright lights, as I like to say, of the city, like a moth to the light. It's very difficult. In contrast, how would you look at someone like me and say, well, I just want to live very simple and only the essential things that I need and be able to have freedom in my life. I don't want the yacht. I don't want to do 2 chicks at the same time. I don't want, really? You don't want all those things? No. I want to be able to have freedom, and I want to be able to have compassion, and I want it for myself, for others. But you got to build yourself. I'm rambling on. Let's get you guys some help here. Business is slow on one of these, and it looks like some people are going, there's a couple of these. Looks like some people are going to get laid off. They're not quite sure what to do. They're getting up there in age, and it's getting harder to compete with younger people. So let's just pump the brakes for 1 second here to go back on what we were saying about usefulness. If you are getting up in age and you've been doing something for a very long time, and I almost guarantee you, maybe you don't know it yourself, there's a lot of ghost, I only thought of this just now at this exact moment. You have ghost skills, meaning you have things that you know how to do that you're not even aware of. But let's go back, let's back up a second. You're afraid that you can't compete with these younger people. If these younger people are can produce twice as much as you do in physical goods, there's something wrong, right? I mean, you're getting up there in age, but you should be far more accurate. You should be able to make every move count, which is a coming podcast, how to make every move count. You should be far superior in these things, unless you've been the person, and I don't mean this to beat you up, but you've been the lazy person. I think this is going to be the theme that's going to set the ground here for this great recession, if it comes, and also this great reset. Those who have sat and done nothing and stayed comfortable and never pushed themselves out of their comfort zones are going to get the feedback. Nobody did it to them. They did it unto themselves. But I want to try to help those who are worried about this, that they're getting out-competed by young people. And I do, as they say, use your brains, not your bronze. But measuring bronze, a 50-year-old against a 20-year-old, it ain't going to happen. I can tell you right now, I'm in my 40s, and if I was up against in construction working against a 20-year-old, I would whoop their ass all day. Not meaning I'd kick their ass, but I would be able to build stuff probably twice as fast as they are because of my skills. I've learned to make each move count. Every cut I make, every time I go up the ladder, I bring something down. I bring something up. When I go up, I bring something down. I'm always calculating every single movement that I make, and I have to do this, right? I'm a single father. I got a special needs kid. I want to get ahead in life, and I noticed how much fluff and fat there is in life, right? And a lot of people they're just focused on, give me my paycheck so I can get my pack of smokes, my beer, my ice cream, whatever it is for you, my weed. I want to go home and watch, sitcom, TV, and have some laughs and then do it all over again. But let's get back on track here. If you're older and you don't have these skills then you kind of fucked up, I'd like to say. I don't like to say it, but it doesn't mean it's over. You're going to have to reconfigure stuff, just as we just spoke about, and you're going to have to figure out what smarts say you're in a factory of putting things together, right? You've been there for probably 20 years now, if you're in your 40s, Some of these people are saying if they're similar, the same age as me. If you've been there that long, you should have a general idea of how to repair machinery. A lot of automation's coming, right? You should have ideas on, you know what? I've been doing this, pressing the same board for 20 years. If I got a machine to do this, I don't know about you guys, but I've always thought of things like that. I'm like, how can I make this easier? You know, how can I work in the shade? How can I build stuff so I don't have to bend over anymore? You know, you've had to have come up with some thoughts like that. And maybe that you can start designing something or working for somebody to develop machineries. I'm pretty sure if you're really lazy, this is probably not your mentality. And you're probably looking just for, well, what's a quick fix, I think. It's probably the questions that are going to come in. You know what? I can't do all that, Adrian. I'm old. I'm tired. I'm beat up. This recession, all this stress has just got me going, and I can't really think. Well, then you need to stick with what you're doing and work for somebody. But let's take a look at some of the skills that you might have, and you may be able to change a complete different occupation. What I'd like you guys to do is to get a list, and we've done audits on money, on our to find out what our expenses are, right? To get a, what's the word I'm looking for? Damn, I hate when it's too early in the morning and cold. But we're trying to get a budget, right? And we don't know how to budget unless we know where the money's at. Like how much is coming in, what's going out, ghost expenses and stuff like that. But right now on this audit, what we're going to try to list out is some things that you do in your everyday life that you may never have thought of. Let's just say that you have never gotten a car accident. There's one. You don't have any car accidents. You've been driving to work for 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is. Never got a car. That means you're probably a pretty good driver. Your record will indicate that this guy's never been in an accident. Your auto insurance is super low. Guess what? If there's a delivery, I would say something useful though. And again, I think a lot of these things can be automated. I think this is coming, but for the time being, transportation, taxi and things like that, Uber, whatever they got, Lyft. I think more important than that, I think if we hit a recession is going to be such things as delivery of like surgical supplies, medical supplies. I wouldn't say truck drivers, but you probably can. You see what I'm saying is that you've driven so safe, you're so aware of things, and somebody would be looking for something like that. A garbage truck hauler, right? Those people actually make some pretty decent coin. You have no DUIs, you haven't messed yourself up. You see what I mean? And you can present this to to your boss wherever you're looking to get hired, right? I don't think this would go great with Uber or Lyft or anything like that, but going to a medical surgical supply place, construction delivery materials is probably another good one, I would say. I don't see the construction industry really taking a dive. I think that's one of the solid ones for now that's going to go. But people need roofing materials and lumber and tiles and plumbing and things like that hauled off to places. And if you can show your boss, look, I've never got a DUI and my record's completely clean, never gotten even a car accident, nothing, I'm an excellent driver. So when I was in the state of Oregon many years ago, I went to actually apply for a trash truck driver just to see. I wasn't sure, but they said, when I went in, this is the first thing they asked, you got any DUIs? I said, nope, not one. They're like, none, ever. And then they looked at each other and were like, dude, you're hired. I didn't take the job because I didn't want to. I was just kind of experimenting. But I didn't realize in my region that a lot of people were such alcoholics that a lot of them had issues basically, and that's a liability to the company. So I want you guys to start thinking this way, to audit yourself, to look at different things you have around your home. Maybe some of you are excellent cooks, whether you're a man or a woman. Maybe in your house and in your family, you're able to make the best Thai food or Mexican food or whatever it is, and you really got an idea, a good handle on stuff. You can switch things over to being a cook. Start writing down and start looking at things, and really go deep, because some stuff is hidden. Like, you're an excellent organizer. You'll know this, like you go to your friend's house and it's a wreck. It probably looks like mine, like a bomb went off and there's shrapnel just fucking everywhere, spaghetti hanging off the fucking ceiling fan. And it helps to have kids that that are very dirty. No, but I'm actually very unorganized that way in my house. But you would go to your friend's house and see how cluttery it is, just like mine, as I said. But in your house, you would see that things are well organized. Your sock drawer, is like perfectly all lined up and everything. You've got your kids all organize their clothes and their foods, and you meal prep and all those kind of things. That means you're a great organizer. That means you have great management skills. So I want you to start thinking of that philosophy. I don't want to beat this one up too much because we don't have a lot of time and I want to answer everybody's questions here, but I think you should get the point by now. There's a lot of things that a lot of you are good at, especially those who are getting older in age. You should have been developing skills from many things, and life should get easier, but maybe you're just fooled because you're zeroing in on the micro and not looking at the macro. I think there's room for everybody, but you got to make yourself special. You got to make yourself, like I said, much more useful. Give more than what you're going to take, and you will always be ahead. Here's somebody who's in the restaurant travel industry and theaters and businesses like that, and they can't. They're looking. They think they're going to get fired, and they're like, I don't want to start my own business because 90% of them fail. We have two things that stand out to me right here. 90% risk failure rate. What would I do? First of all, let's talk about the industry of hotels and movie theaters and even restaurants and things like that. Nobody knows what's going to happen with this COVID thing. This great reset, who knows? I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it sounds like we've got a lot of people being born. People are just fucking away, man. They're just fucking like nobody's business. We got, for every person that dies, there's 10 more babies being born, you know? It's just the way it is, right? It's not picking on anybody. I am fearful that either the powers that be are releasing, that could have released. I'm not saying this happened, but I'm saying that if you got an overpopulation, which people are talking about, you don't think that would cross their mind to say we need to thin out the herd, basically? Or Mother Nature does this. When we have many people and they live in a city and you have them crammed up, you have hundreds of thousands of people stacked up and they're all shitting in pipes and stuff, and that shit's got to go somewhere, you know, and just the filthiness of human beings. We're almost like cancer. Anything's like cancer. If you go and place everybody and stack them up so close together. You know, you go to a dairy farm and they got the cows all lined up, all sleeping in their own shit. It stinks. It's unhealthy. And it's ruining the land. What's going to happen? Diseases are going to come. That could have happened with this whole COVID thing. It could happen in the future where nature might throw something out. So I'm basically, to get the shit out of my mouth, is any business that you would start from here on in, you have a lot of things against you. I do not think that the entertainment industry would be one that is very secure. Because what if we get another round? What if this virus mutates? And there's already talk about that, right? So whether the times we're hitting hard or times we're hitting good, I still think that we should be very careful